We are back on Morning Line. Our guest with us this morning is Clint Kelly, malpractice attorney. Always good to have him on. And we can take your phone calls, 737-7587, up till the 9 o'clock hour if you think you have a potential case. We've got some that came through, but we have some lines open. We're going to start off with Tim. I want to make sure we can hear him. It's a little scratchy, I understand. Tim, are you there? Okay. Try to tell us. You're kind of scratchy, so talk into the phone. We'll see if we can understand you. Yeah, it's not a good connection, Tim. Are you on a cell phone? Okay, you know what? I'm going to put you on hold. Do you mind calling back and we'll come right back to you because it just sounds awful. Let's see if we can get a better connection with you. And Tim, just hang up and call us back, Tim, and we'll see if we can hear you because we just can't make that out. Let's go to Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi.
Hey, what's on your mind?
Okay, I live in Kentucky.
Okay.
Had a question. My husband had supposed to be outpatient gallbladder surgery, and they ended up doing the full cut, and they cut his bowel.
They nipped his bowel. Okay.
He's had a whole lot of trouble since then. He's been back in the hospital twice, again, for bowel obstruction because of it, and then he had another infection.
How's he doing right now?
He's not doing very good. He's barely getting around.
What's the prognosis from his physician as to how he's going to do in the future?
His doctor has said, basically, if you have a problem, call me back.
Mm-hmm. So, did he have to have surgery for the small bowel obstruction?
No, they just put the NG tube down his throat. And while he was in the hospital, he ended up getting a pressure sore because the nurses didn't turn him.
Oh, that's a whole other issue right there about the failure to turn and getting an ulcer.
Yeah, from lying in one spot. And when did this happen, by the way?
April 19th.
Oh, okay.
So it's fairly recent. You know, I've never heard of a bowel injury from gallbladder surgery because the gallbladder's in a completely different place than the bowel. I mean, the gallbladder leads into the stomach, and she's talking about area that's just completely different. It makes me wonder if there was something else going on during that procedure other than the gallbladder surgery. Otherwise, the doctor seems to me is operating in a completely wrong area.
And she said it nicked an intestine?
That's what it sounded like. Yeah, he had a bowel obstruction, so it sounds like something was done to the bowel, but I can't tell enough from what she's
But there was nothing wrong with the bowel. He went in there for gallbladder surgery, not any bowel issue, right?
Yeah, he went in for outpatient gallbladder surgery, and the doctor, after the surgery, the doctor called me and told me that, said that there was some complications.
Charlotte, why don't you call my office today and ask to speak to Pat and tell Pat, give her a little bit more information about what happened, because I think it's going to need to be a little more in depth, and I want to call my gastroenterology expert and try to find out what he thinks about this. One thing I will tell you, if your husband's going to make a good recovery, it's probably a case I won't take, because we've talked about this as well, that when patients make a good recovery, when I say good, I mean they're able to live and move on. Juries tend to not give money in those cases. They're harder to win.
It could bring more damages, but it sounds like, is he an older gentleman?
Yeah, he's 61.
Okay, so just have to look at how, but you're saying he's not doing well, he's kind of spending a lot of time in bed?
He's spending a lot of time in bed or sitting in the chair. I mean, he's having a whole lot of pain.
Okay, well, I mean, it's definitely worth looking into.
Absolutely.
Charlotte, get a pen and paper, and what we'll do is we're going to have the contact information for Clint up at the end of the program. Or do you have a pen and paper there right now?
I've got it here now.
Okay, go ahead and give her the number. We'll give you the number now, and then we're going to put it up again at the end of the show.
It's 615-824-3703.
3703?
That's correct.
824-3703. And yeah, you can call, and like he said, this isn't going to cost you anything to check with his, I guess, your receptionist.
That's right.
And
Pat's the one that does the intake, and she gets the information where I can make a judgment. I can run this past a gastroenterologist and see whether or not he's interested in looking at the case. And you know, Charlotte's doing what you're supposed to do. You make a call and say, hey, you know, is this right? Is it wrong? Do I have a case? And it's free.
Charlotte, thank you for calling. You did the right thing.
All right,
all right, ma'am. Good luck. I hope she. That's what. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. It may not be something, but again, it's interesting what you said. If they were going down there to do something with the gallbladder. I don't even know where that is, but the gallbladder.
It's
and
around the liver. And
well, then what the heck are they nicking an intestine for?
That's why I want.
That's where you wonder if they went to the wrong thing initially. Who knows?
It happens.
It does.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back. I think we have Tim on a clearer line. Go ahead, Tim. Let's see if we can hear you this time.
All right, Nick. How
Gotcha.
are you this morning?
Sounds good, Tim. Thank you for calling back. Go ahead. How can we help you?
My question was, about 3.5 years ago, my right foot started hurting me real bad, and I went to a doctor, and so she sent me to this podiatrist specialist, and he x-rayed my foot and everything like that. Oh, you're all right. You just got a little bit of a sprain, And about a week later, my foot started turning red, the skin started coming off of it, and my toenails started to turn, sort of turning black, down at the bottom. So I go back to him, and he said, I'm going to send you somewhere else. And he sent me to this vascular specialist, and he told me, he said, he done an examination. He said, I'm going to have to put you in a hospital. He said, you have a blood clot that's cut off the circulation to your legs. He says, we'll have to put you in a hospital, and we're going to put you over some, get another doctor. We're going to come in and do a bypass to get circulation to your legs. So they did that, and he said, we're going to put you on these real strong antibiotics, for a couple of weeks. He said, you might accidentally, it may be that you'll lose your toes. He said, but you won't lose your whole foot, He said, because that's sort of a mild case of gangrene setting up, So, anyway, what happened was, my toenail just kept turning black and everything, so this doctor came in. She was supposed to be a podiatrist surgeon. Well, we're going to have to take your toes off. So I said, well, if you have to, you got to, So she put me in the hospital. They did the surgery. When I went back to get the stitches took out, the whole thing just got wide open.
Yeah.
She said, it ain't healing up. So anyway, she put a bandage on it, put a lot of medicine and stuff on it. I had a nurse 3 times a week coming to the house, and she was changing the bandage, putting things and taking pictures and sending it to her and so forth, And this went on for months. And finally she told me, come back and go do an MRI on that foot. So I went back and they did the MRI. She called me 2 days later. Well, I found the problem. It was a bone left exposed and it's got infected. If that infection gets into your bloodstream, it'll kill you. I says, what? What am I supposed to do now? She said, well, we ain't got one choice. We got to take your leg off. So they amputated my leg. So I called an attorney at the time, and he said, it's supposed to statutes of limitation before we get it back done. He said the statutes of limitation will be run out. So I lost my leg, and now I'm having all kinds of pain in my leg from that, And I just wonder what's the deal with this statutes of limitation stuff going on,
He may have missed the portion of that. First of all, what did you think of his case? Would he have potentially had a case?
It's possible. I need to know more about his
history.
history.
To hear that, Tim. That's awful. I'm so sorry.
Is he a diabetic? Was there something about the surgery itself that made it more difficult? But you really can't even get to the medical merits if you've waited too long to bring the claim, and it sounds like that's what's happened here. I don't know what the...
But it seemed to me, all right, but how far back do you go? Now, he said this started at 3.5 years ago. Now, I don't know, and that's a long time, but he started off, and there wasn't a problem right from 3.5 years, and they started doing the treatment, but I'm thinking maybe it should go from the time the bone was left exposed. Now, that may still be outside the year, but it doesn't really go back to when it first started.
No,
the malpractice could have come later. Initially, they were diagnosing. Maybe it was hard to figure out. Then when they recognized the clot, okay, all right, good job, good for them. They figured that out. But then these other problems and a bone left exposed, and then they have to cut off his whole darn leg?
Right. I would think the year would start from the time that he discovered, Tim found out that the bone was infected or was left in there. There was something about what he was told that led him to think this isn't right, and he ended up having to have his leg cut off. But it sounds like he ran this past another attorney. Another attorney looked at it and was convinced that the statute of limitations was going to be a problem. And, it's just... we can't hit this hard enough, Nick. People need to call when they think something's gone wrong, because if they don't and they wait too long and think everything's going to be okay and it's not, or they think, you know, the law will wait on me, they'll end up being like Tim or some of these other people who just don't have a claim.
Yeah, and listen, Tim, we always talk about that at the beginning of the show because it's a great point. But that is the way the law is set up. But the statute of limitation guidelines different from state to state?
They do.
Okay, because here in Tennessee, talk to your lawmaker. Statute of limitations is 1 year with some rare exceptions. And that's just the way it is.
You know,
and so if you're wondering, that's how it's set up. So that's why if you suspect something, even if you're not sure, call a lawyer and find out.
We've tried to get the legislature to extend that statute at least by another year. And there are a lot of good reasons for it. It's not just to protect the patients, but also there's some cases that won't be brought if you have more time to do an investigation and let things play out.
Sure. So in the long run, it could save on litigation.
But we can't convince the physicians and the hospitals to let us do that.
On that note, let's take a break. Ethel, Joe, and others, if you're on hold, stay there. We'll be back with more of your calls with Clint in our final segment right after this.